The Other Half of Me by Katherine Slee. Performed by Henrietta Mear. Fat bees droned in lavender skies under which the two of us ran towards the river. It was one of those almost summer days that held the promise of something more, and I remember hoping it would be a day we'd never forget. Lucy let go of my hand, slipping between the trees to be covered by all that green. "Lucy, wait!" I said, wondering if my legs would ever grow long enough to outrun her, or if I'd ever be able to remember all the things Mum kept expecting me to do, like thinking before speaking, or taking off my shoes when I came home. But there were far more interesting things to think about back then, like learning new chords on the guitar, or what it was that had changed about my sister to make people look at her differently. I asked Mum about it, and she said I had no need to be jealous, that my turn would come soon enough. At the time it made no sense, but now I realize that Lucy had morphed from a pretty girl into a strikingly beautiful teenager, with the sort of face you wanted to look at for longer than you should. We were heading for a field beyond the river because Lucy wanted to collect wildflowers and use them to make cards, although she wouldn't admit who the cards were for. I had my suspicions, not least because she kept giggling on the phone with her friends or staring out at nothing at all whenever I asked her a question. How different it all would have been if her first teenage crush was the only thing any of us had to worry about that summer. Traipsing through the woods, I ripped up handfuls of ferns, tossing them over my shoulder and wishing we could go back to when Lucy was happy to play hide-and-seek or help me look for fairies that might live in the trees. She'd even stopped listening to music and would come into whichever room I was in, yelling at me to turn the stereo down. I came out at the narrowest part of the river, where we always used to cross, and that's when I saw her, down by the water's edge, hunched over and clutching at her head. "Lucy?" I called out. "What's happened?" She looked up at me, eyes half rolled back in their sockets, and her fingers frantically tugging at her hair, as if she were trying to rip something out from the inside of her skull. "What do I do?" I said, looking around me in the hope that one of our parents would magically appear. "Lucy, please, tell me what to do." She didn't reply, just sat there rocking back and forth, seeming so vulnerable and small. I remember being scared, properly scared, because Lucy always knew what to do, and now it was up to me to figure it out without her. "Where does it hurt?" I crouched down beside her and prized her hands away. In return, she began to moan, twisting her head from side to side and balling her hands into fists that she began pummeling against my chest. "Kite! Kite! Kite!" she said. The words all twisted and turned around, like she was sucking on a sweet as she spoke. "What kite?" I asked, holding her by the wrists and glancing up at the cloudless sky. "I pulled up tomato blue. Go away!" She was staring at me, willing me to make sense of all the mismatched words. "Lucy," I said, suddenly aware that I should not, under any circumstances, panic, even though there was a whole great clot of it at the base of my throat, making it difficult to swallow. "Lucy," I said, hooking my arms under her armpits and helping her to her feet. "I'm going to need you to walk, okay?